From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme Three Podcast. Hello and welcome, cinephiles, cinema lovers, movie appreciators, to the Gimme Three Podcast, a series for cinephiles. I'm your host, Nicholas Ybarra. My esteemed co-host, Bella of Strata, she is out this week. She's spending some quality time with the family during this holiday season. Hope y'all are doing the same. And, while we are on the subject of family, there's a film that I saw recently that I just really fell in love with. Powerful movie. It's about, the trauma and the demons that can haunt our families, not only affect us, but the generations that follow. I'm talking about the debut feature film from Malcolm Washington, The Piano Lesson. This film takes place in 1936, so it's like Great Depression era. And The Piano Lesson focuses on the familial conflict between a brother and a sister. It's Bernice and Boy Willie. And these siblings have taken a very different path, have very different worldviews as they grapple, with their painful family history, which includes enslavement. Bernice, having recently lost the love of her life, she has decided to move out of the South. She's up in Pittsburgh, where she now lives with her uncle. She's a single mom trying to raise her daughter in the heat of the Great Depression. The other thing that she has brought with her up to Pittsburgh was their family piano, a piano that is not only integral to their family history, because it contains, the blood, the sweat, the tears of her ancestors, but this piano has a unique story. Bernice and Boy Willie's father stole this piano from the family that enslaved them. A statement that said, they don't own this family anymore, but that cost him his life. And the piano now just sits in Bernice's living room as a reminder of their family history. But Boy Willie, her brother, he's got other plans. He comes up from the South, and he's got hopes of selling that piano so he can finish the funds, so he can buy some land of his own, something nobody in his family has ever had, land of their own.
Well, when I told you to leave my house.
Well, I ain't in your house. I'm in Doka's house.
Doka, tell him to leave. Tell him to go.
Well, I ain't done nothing for me to put him out the house. Now, I done told y'all, if you can't get along, just go on, don't have nothing to do with one another.
Damn. Now I'm not your part of the house. Consider me done left your part. Soon as Lyman get back with that rope, I'm carrying that piano out of here in 7.
I got something to make you leave it over there.
I got to come back in this 3220.
Why don't y'all stop that? Boy, Willie, don't leave her alone. Why you got to stand there and pick with her?
I ain't picking with her. I told her the truth. She the one talking about what she got. I just told her what she better have.
That's why I don't talk to him, Doka. Try and talk to him. That's the only kind of stuff that come out of his mouth.
You say Avery went home get his Bible.
Oh, what Avery gonna do? Do nothing with me. I wish Avery would try to tell me something about this piano.
So they got two very different ideas of what to do with this piano that is a metaphor for their family and their family history. They're different ideas. It stews tension and it awakes the ghosts that haunt their family. Tremendous piece of work. Incredible, outstanding performances by John David Washington, Daniel Deadwyler, Samuel L. Jackson, Ray Fisher, Michael Potts, Corey Hawkins. One of the producers of the film is Denzel Washington, which is amazing, producing his son's work, and his other son's acting in the film. How awesome is that? And the film is obviously an adaptation of August Wilson's 1987 play. The screenplay, co-written by Malcolm Washington and Virgil Williams. And I am admittedly a huge fan of Virgil Williams. I love his work. I'm inspired by his journey. In 2019, I had the pleasure of chatting with him at the Austin Film Festival, and he gave me some of the best writing advice I've ever received. And since then, my writing productivity has skyrocketed. I fell in love with the process again. My writing work has just never been the same since that year at the Austin Film Festival. So I owe Virgil a lot, and I figure as we close out the year here on the Gimme Three Podcast, I'd like to share my chat with Mr. Williams from 2019 as we, discuss his career, and his incredible work on Mudbound, which earned him an Academy Award nomination. So if you're a fan of The Piano Lesson, if you're a fan of Mudbound, if you are an aspiring writer, or if you are an accomplished writer, I highly recommend checking out this discussion. So here we go. Here's my interview with Virgil Williams from 2019's Austin Film Festival. And be sure to check out The Piano Lesson, which is streaming right now on Netflix. We're very blessed to be here. We're very blessed, honored, excited to have our guest today, Academy Award nominated Virgil Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Virgil's script Mudbound was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay in 2017. He's also a writer, a producer on some series, Criminal Minds, ER, 24. And so we're very honored to have you, man.
Thank you.
I was at your panel discussion this morning. I was telling you, it was really inspiring. I could see all the eyes, young aspiring writers lighting up, and a lot of heads nodding, and a lot of hearts being touched. So thanks for being at the festival also.
That's dope.
Because
I appreciate it.
Spreading your gift and spreading your knowledge. It's very special.
I appreciate that. Really, I mean that means a lot. And this is a great festival. I came a couple years ago, and it's very chill. It's more like a conference than a festival.
It's a conference. I mean, I always learn more and network more at this festival than any other.
Yeah.
So, all my listeners out there in LA, make it out when you can.
It's an easy flight from LA too.
Yeah.
Super short flight, and it's a dope little festival. Cool little town too.
So you're from Chicago.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start off with something that I hope you don't hate me for this.
Uh-oh.
But what's going on with them Bears, man? What's up with Trubisky?
Man, I can't even talk about it.
I'm a Packers fan.
I won't hold that against you. We can't get everything right.
Right.
I had to turn them boys off the other week. I couldn't. I don't know what's going on. We traded up for that dude. I think he's in his head. He looks like he's pressing.
He is.
He looks like he feels all the pressure of having been traded up for.
Yeah.
And he looks like
because he's got the skills. It seemed like he had the skills last year. He was, but
he just looks like one of those cats that's getting to the Chicago's getting at him.
Yeah,
they're impatient.
They are,
most sports fans are. I don't think there's a
yes, that's true. That's true. All sports fans,
like, I'll give him a second. He'll be fine. I think they want to win now. So I don't even know, man. I don't even know. A lot of season left.
There is a lot of season left.
So we'll see.
We'll see. He could turn it around.
Defense.
As a Packers fan, Trubisky, if you're listening to this, I send you love, man. I hope the best for you. Now jumping into writing, the real reason why we're here. Talk to me about creating your best creative space, creating your writing heaven. What your writing heaven looks like.
That's a great question. I think on an abstract level, for me, it's when it's not result based.
Mm-hmm.
When it doesn't have to be about I got to sell it, or I got to get this in so we can shoot it, and I don't care about it, but I need to, this is my job. You know what I mean? I think that's writing heaven.
Yeah, when it's coming from your heart rather than
when it doesn't have to necessarily affect, your station in life.
Right.
When you don't need to pay the mortgage with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just doing it, or during those times, if you are doing it for compensation, and there's everybody here is pro or wants to be, so those spots where you're in the flow zone, where you're listening, where you're tuned into the right station,
mm-hmm.
and you're flow zoning. You put in the work, you've done your outline or whatever work needs to be done before you start writing scenes, and you're sort of on the backside of the mountain.
Right.
That's a version of heaven too.
When the script's taking over.
Heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it's just revealing itself to you.
Right.
Michelangelo used to say he didn't make sculptures. He just freed those figures from inside the marble.
Right.
So when you're just doing that and just allowing it to be what it is, that's a version of writing heaven.
For sure.
All very esoteric, very not necessarily like life applicable stuff, but in some ways it can.
But it
be.
is, yeah. It really is. You spent many years writing in television. You know, you worked your way up, writers' rooms and all that stuff. When you all those years you spent, you know, working on the deadlines and answering to this and that. Were you always working on personal projects on the side, working on your own stories and stuff?
Yeah. Mudbound was the first real concerted effort, though. Mm-hmm. You know, you come off a TV season, especially those old school network 22, 24 episode orders.
Right.
That's a grind, you know what I mean? And I used to beat myself up for not writing more. That's my leather jacket crinkling on the wood. That's what that sound is. You pick that up on the mic because it makes it. I love that.
It'll
sound.
help you visualize where we're at.
It's like you're really here. I used to get hard on myself. You know, I'd be on hiatus after that long season. I'd be like, God, I should have written some. But you're tired after that. You know, you've written. You know, if you've on Criminal Minds, upper levels wrote, you know, 3 episodes a season, so that's 160 plus pages of material, and you produced those episodes. So you spent those days on set, you spent those days in post, you spent those days in prep, and it's a grind. But there came a point where I think the sort of I don't know, the creative dam burst. Mm-hmm. You know, and it was like, dude, this procedural stuff is cool, you know, ish, you know, because it's lucrative, and it's I think. Relatively easy. I italicized the word relatively. But where's the song? Like, where's the stuff coming from your heart?
Yeah.
Because you can find pockets of it. You can find little spaces for that in any sort of procedural space. But I mean, it's like I was saying at the panel. I mean, it's a straight up pocket. It's just a pocket. It's not a full. You know, it's a little sampler. You know, it's not a full meal.
And then working on the TV, like you said, you produced some of the episodes as well.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the episode top to bottom, through and through, all the way through post. Does doing that and that process help inform your writing?
Yes.
Moving past that?
Undoubtedly, unquestionably, I can, yes, in every way. Because writing something to sell is very different than writing something to shoot. It's a slightly different skill set, you know?
Right.
It's like an outfielder. You know, and an infielder, you know, they both play baseball, but one guy has a different glove. Like, they have different gloves. Like, it's different, situationally different. And writing to shoot is a thing, and that's what I really learned to do, was writing to shoot. Mm-hmm. That means a couple things, you know, being able to change things fast. It means being able to write something that is as specific as it can be and simultaneously as general and flexible as it can be,
right?
So as to conform to any production limitations or opportunities,
right?
Because sometimes you'll be out there and be like, "Oh, what if we did X?
Yeah,
that would be dope." But that helps if you have. I always like to think of scripts as like part of what I'm doing is creating space. I'm like an offensive lineman.
Right.
Let's run the football thing, where I'm creating space for these other disciplines so that they can get off. So I'm writing a document that, you know, hair and makeup is inspired. I'm writing a document where the DP is inspired, where the actors are inspired, where everybody finds some source of inspiration, and I've made space for them to do what they do.
That's a great way to think about it.
So that they can do it. I mean, that's what that document is.
Yeah,
that's what a shootable script is. Mm-hmm. It's a blueprint. It's a piece of inspiration. It's a flashlight. It's I mean, people have to work off that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, grips, your key grip is going to have to be like, he's going to read that script, or she's going to read that script, and she's going to be looking at, you know, how many cables they need and all that kind of shit.
Right.
Oh, am I allowed to say? I just cussed on the podcast. Sorry.
You can cuss on our podcast. I don't know about them.
Cool.
That's a beautiful thing about a script, though, ain't it? Because it's like you can read it. I work in the industry also as an AD.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, like, that's my blueprint for like getting the job done.
Yep.
But
you
I could also
schedule the whole thing. You got to do a whole bunch of stuff off of that.
But also as a writer, I can read that same thing, you know, and view it from a completely technical mind, but also be completely moved by it and brought to tears. Yep.
It's a very specific thing.
Yeah.
It's a hyper specific thing. It's not a novel.
Yeah.
It is not a piece of prose. It's super specific. I mean, it's, you know, I think some people probably can write screenplays better than they write novels, or vice versa. I mean, I think it's a specific skill set.
Yeah, for
sure. It really is.
That's great. If we can, I want to touch a little bit on Journal for Jordan, the memoirs you're adapting right now for a screenplay, which is going to be directed by Mr. Denzel Washington.
Yes, Mr. Washington.
When you hear that you're going to be working on a project that's going to be directed by Denzel Washington. How do you begin to like let the jitters go and be like, all right, it's time to get down to business? Because there's got to be like some sense of like insane excitement, right?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, look. Well, first of all, I actually developed a television show with Denzel many years ago that never went, but we developed together. So part of the reason that I got a Journal for Jordan and that a Journal for Jordan landed like it did with Mr. Washington was because of the work that we'd done previously. So he knew me and remembered me, And a moment that I had when the show was called Billy Styles. And a moment I had with Denzel when we were doing that together, we went to the Sony lot to have a lunch meeting. And my producer, Todd Black, and Jason Blumenthal, his partner, they'd gotten the back room at the commissary, like where they have the private lunches.
Right.
And walking across the Sony lot with Denzel Washington, and you're in the industry, so movie lots, there's stars walking around, but he's a big one.
He's the star.
Yeah. And the people could sense him. They were 30 yards away, and they could sense him. Walking across that lot with him, walking into that commissary with him, and everybody going, there's Denzel. Who's that? Who's that kid? Going into that back room, closing the door, and then running lines from my script with Denzel as we were working stuff out. I had a moment in that meeting, and this is what these are the gold pieces in my career. These moments,
right?
And all that stuff I was talking about at that panel, that sort of like listening piece. You need that skill so that you can even see these moments, or else you'll miss them.
Right,
and
yeah.
You won't realize the value in them.
You have to appreciate them, yeah.
I mean, it's more than just, wow, that must be really cool, and you must be really excited. It's like, it's like, holy shit. Like, I had a moment with him while we're doing that where I said, I don't really care what happens with this show.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Because it's like me out here, I'm shooting baskets with Michael Jordan, and we're working out together,
right.
And I'm hanging. Like, I'm not grabbing my knees hunched over going, I cannot run with this dude. I was there.
You're holding your own with the
right
best.
With him.
Yeah. And
that was, heaven saying, you're in the right place, man. And you have to be able to take those moments so that when the show doesn't go, because it didn't, that was enough. That was the win. That was the affirmation. That was the win. And it translated years later,
right,
but into something tangible. Now he's going to direct a film that I wrote. So Jordan wouldn't have happened if Billy Styles didn't happen years earlier.
Yeah.
But, look, man, Todd Black, my producer, the producer on this film, very esteemed film producer, Todd Black, and my mentor and friend. He's the one who brought me the book, Jordan. He called me, I said, hey, Todd, what's up, man? He goes, hold on one second. And he passed the phone. All of a sudden I hear, Virgil, Mr. Washington, hey. And it's a Washington, and he's telling me how much he loved my script. And I'm cool on the phone. Like, you hear me going like, oh, I really appreciate that.
Right.
But if you guys could see me right now, I'm like, oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Man, I'm glad it landed. And I'm crying.
Right.
I'm a crier. I cry.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, long answer long, dude. Like that, it's an affirmation.
For sure.
It's a moment where I go, like, sticking it out was the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
Working was the right thing to do. And all that other the bullshit that may have happened, it's like, that's okay. Because it brought you here.
Right, exactly.
So now you're here. Now what?
Life is a marathon, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Life is a marathon.
Yeah.
I want to jump back now to Mudbound.
Yep.
Talk about your beautiful script.
Yeah, thank you.
You mentioned your grandfather. He fought in World War II, right? As well. And Ron Soul and Jamie in the story of fighting World War II. Did you take... Obviously, it's an adaptation of a book, but did you take any piece of your grandfather with you when you were writing these characters?
Not necessarily in any one-to-one fashion,
right?
But in so far as a level of respect, a level of reverence, a sort of appreciation for the proximity, because it was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago.
It's not that long ago.
You know what I mean? Like and like at the time, I was like, this dude's still alive. And so, with regard to that, those pieces helped me bring that to it, a certain level of respect, so that, if you don't respect the thing, it can sometimes get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the ocean.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so that, but there wasn't any, there weren't necessarily any idiosyncrasies or particular character traits from my grandfather that I took, but his essence and that reverence piece.
For sure.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in the script and the movie is when Ronsel comes home and he gives his mom the chocolate.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yep.
You know, she's like, I'm going to save it for the other kids. And he says, no.
You enjoy that.
That's for you.
Yeah.
I grew up with a single mom, so that hit home with me.
Yeah.
And I'm always drawn to like strong female characters. You know, I think like Ronsel and Jamie are the heartbeat of the story, but you know, Laura and
many heartbeats. It's
and Florence are they're the backbone. You know, just want to talk about like writing these mother characters.
Yeah,
they're so strong.
Yeah. That scene with the chocolate, that was all Dee Reese. That was like an on the day thing. That was like that was like some Dee Reese genius. And that's one of the more, I agree with you. That's a very, very, very powerful moment.
Yeah.
And very tender. You know, my mom has so much to do with the man that I have become. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I have 2 daughters. So, and my beautiful wife, you know, so I've been blessed enough to be surrounded by strong women always.
Yeah.
So that reverence piece, you know, anytime I am writing a female voice, I don't know, there's a level of respect that I bring to that and a certain level of effort because I'm not a female. Mm-hmm. So there are certain things that we need to do, just like an actor would need to do to ascend to that level of thinking or that mindset, or it's like, you know, putting on a pair of glasses so that you see a little different. And that's a skill that you have to sort of practice and really, surrender to, because you really do have to, I really do have to put my own shit aside and be on full absorb, you know, so that I can do that shit right. You know what I mean? And with the amount of respect that warrants, because, you know, dudes have been writing females forever and not right.
Yeah.
Without thinking, without an attempt at walking in someone else's shoes. It's just sort of, you know, I think may have come out in some kind of way, or it's I think a lot of times you'll see what, you know, a man's idea of what a strong woman is. I think you'll see a lot of times men don't allow women vulnerability or weakness,
right,
or flaws. So they tend to be either super heroic or, you know,
unrealistic.
Yeah, or unrealistic.
Yeah,
you know, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
We were talking about that this morning at the panel discussion. You were talking about assimilating.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's what we have to do as writers.
Yep.
Is assimilate and become somebody else and find that voice.
Luckily, we don't have to do it in front of a bunch of people like an actor.
Right.
Luckily, we can do it, you know, behind closed doors in our pajamas.
Right.
You know? And that makes it a little easier. At least it takes some of the, you know, in the moment pressure off. But that's what it is, man.
Yeah. The end of your script. I'm just gonna read the last line here, which is by Ronsel and VO. I'd have to cross the Atlantic yet again. This time, not for war,
but for love.
But for love.
Yeah. And so I'll end with that.
I love that. I love. You know, it's a heavy film. There's a lot of love in the script.
Yeah.
And in the movie, but there's a lot of dark moments.
Yeah.
A lot of war.
Yeah.
And I just want to hear your perspective on wanting to end it, you know, with love. Literally the word love.
Yeah. That was a conscious decision.
Yeah.
To have the last spoken word of the piece be the word love. And it tripped me out when people actually picked up on it. Like, people were like, that's the last thing that people say. It's the last word. And I was like, oh, wow. You saw that. The book does not end that way.
Right.
In the book, Hillary alludes to, and I love Hillary, it's my friend. She wasn't very happy when I told her I was going to change the ending of the book. She was okay at the Oscar party. So
Yeah, there you go.
No, that's my girl. I love Hillary. In my estimation, in the book, she sort of, like I said, she alludes to what could maybe happen to Ransel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's not enough. Like that's not enough. And in my heart, I knew he just could not occupy the space of hero unless he went to go get his kid. Because there's too many fatherless black kids walking around out in the world right now. And it felt like it just felt wrong. And it felt like a letdown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like after he went through all of that,
Mm-hmm.
he strung him up, just cut his tongue out, did all of that. And he's not going to go get that boy. He's going to let that boy grow up alone now. I don't know. It just seemed like a no-brainer to me. It just seemed obvious to me. And, you know, the thing about Mudbound is, you know, and I've said this a bunch, like at press tours and stuff when we were on the run. But the beautiful thing about Mudbound is it shows us that it does not matter what color, creed, gender you are. We are all of us, trapped in the mud, same mud.
Mm-hmm.
And that mud is ignorance, it's hate, and it's fear. And the only way to get clean is with love. Like that's what that movie really is about for me at the end. Because the mud is everywhere. It's everywhere in life, in our lives, as a metaphor, obviously. But how are you going to get off you if you don't do it together? I mean, you know, it's just, and especially it's so, it's really kind of bizarre. I remember, I mean, it's been 8 years since I adapted that. And even at the time, I remember being like, God, man, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's like the same shit. Everything the same shit. And then it got weird. And then our man got elected.
Right.
You know, and then everything really went sideways. And it was like, and then it becomes like increasingly more prescient, this, you know, like all the time. And it's, you know, cool that you know, that we were able to sort of take that pulse, but it's also, you know, it's also a bit of a call to action.
It is.
That movie's about inheritance, you know, because we all have one. And you can inherit some shit. You can leave it out in the garage if you want. You don't need to go touch it. You know? You don't need to go do anything with it. Or, you know, depending on what your inheritance is, what do you do about that now? And what does that say about the world that you live in now? And how does that inheritance inform and affect how you move through your life? And what are you going to do about it, depending on where you come from? Right. You know, and I remember thinking to myself after I closed that book, this book could be To Kill a Mockingbird for this generation. Right. I mean, you know, insofar as icon status, insofar as like landmark icon, that's sort of how I learned about, through narrative, American racism. You know what I mean? And I still believe that. I think that high school kids should be reading that book. Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a pure, unadulterated slice of America. All it's good, all it's bad. Yeah. You know, and it's just a beautiful piece of work. For sure. Yeah. As is your script, sir. Thank you, man. I appreciate
Your
that.
adaptation is absolutely beautiful. We're going to jump into some fun now.
Okay.
One of our favorite segments.
I'm having fun now. This is more fun.
We're going to even more fun.
Okay.
Our segment, Gimme Three, for any new listeners out there that are listening on Austin who haven't heard our podcast before. Each episode, we have our guests give us 3 film recommendations, either under the radar stuff.
She said TV was okay too.
TV's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Stuff that has inspired them, stuff you may not have seen, may not have heard of. We just like expanding everybody's knowledge, libraries, cue lists.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Virgil, let's get your first one.
My first has to be a TV show, and it's the original Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Because Rod Serling was easily one of the most prolific film and TV writers. I mean, he wrote a great movie called 7 Days in May.
Right.
Which I think probably still holds up. I saw it a few years ago.
I saw it probably about 10 years ago, and I loved it.
But, you know, there's some, like, you know, early 60s technology that's, like, playing modern, but it's still it still holds up.
Oh, yeah.
But he's wildly prolific. Mm-hmm. And was just sort of me, you know, those reran all the time when I was a kid. So I used to watch that all the time.
The original Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
I think they still do every, like, Thanksgiving or Christmas, they do like the
marathon.
marathons on.
So all the classic
stuff.
ones, like the William Shatner one.
Right.
Yeah, all those. Yeah. But it's just also too for its, there was never anything like that before.
No.
It's wholly unique.
And I mean, still to this day, those things really hold up.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's because of the writing.
Yeah. And
it's because of the writing.
Yeah.
And even old stuff, though dated, if the writing is if there's craft in it, it will age just fine.
for sure.
And that showed. And I didn't even realize that until much later in life. I was like, oh, but I was watching some cool shit when I was a kid. I was watching this. No wonder I liked it so much because this guy can go. And he wrote a lot of them. I think most of them.
Yeah.
So
When I was a kid, I would watch them and I was like, oh, these are cool. They're fun shorts.
yeah.
I revisited some of them as adults. I was like, my God, these have really strong social messages as well that I did not catch up on when I was a kid.
A lot of genius. And you try and write that shit in a half hour. You try and do those things that quick. That's hard.
Yeah.
Like the shorter and simpler it is, the harder it is. That's the standard. It's like, it's hard to be simple.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Twilight Zone, the original.
Yeah.
Your second one, sir.
Oh man, this is tough. So and wasn't it pre-1990? Was that another prerequisite? Or am I taking that from somewhere? It doesn't matter when.
Doesn't matter
Okay,
when.
so when I was in college, I was an intern at Orion Pictures. When Orion Pictures was making movies like Dances with Wolves, Platoon, and Silence of the Lambs, which is my second pick.
Nice.
Because the day that I read the script for Silence of the Lambs, and then they had free movie screenings too for employees. So that was like, I'll work for free. I get free movies. Oh shit! Then I can bring a friend. Dog, we got free movies. When are you coming? So like the day that I read the script for Silence of the Lambs, it was the first screenplay I had ever read in totality. And then 2 hours later, saw the movie. A giant light went off in my head. I went, oh shit, that's what that. I can do that. Like not yet, but like now I know what that is, and it's a brilliant movie. It's the suspense, the everything is really. It's just a cool.
It's
cool
pretty
movie.
flawless.
Yeah, it's pretty flawless. And the cool thing about it is it's about a serial killer, but it's not like bodies are dropping. It's not hyper violent. Like there's barely any violence. There's like you see one dude strung up, but like there's no. It really doesn't get It doesn't get kind of horror-y. It doesn't get gory.
Yeah,
is the word I'm looking for.
But you're still on the edge of your seat for the entire runtime.
Yep. But that movie changed me, and to this day, if it's on, I can't turn it off
For sure.
Yeah.
The Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
Excellent choice.
Yep.
Two excellent choices so far.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Let's get the third.
Man, I have like a tie.
I'll allow two.
Okay.
Hell, we're in Austin. Let's do it.
So
Everything's bigger in Texas, right?
Top 10.
Yeah.
So they remade this movie. Todd Black remade this movie. But the original version is a French version, and it's called The Intouchables. I love stories about strange bedfellows. Like people that end up friends, end up connected, that have no business on this earth being connected.
Kind of like Mudbound.
Yeah. What it does is it speaks to, humanity. Mm-hmm. And it speaks to the thing that I think connects us all, that little set of things that really runs through all of our guts and connects us. And that movie's beautiful. I mean, I remember there's a scene in that film where the rich guy takes the black guy, the rich white guy takes the poor black guy to the opera, and it's just a tree singing. And the black guy he's a tree. And he just starts laughing. And then the rich guy starts laughing. And then I started laughing. And there's nothing to the scene. There's nothing to it. It's just them laughing at the absurdity of what's happening and then being friends.
Right.
There's no dialogue. I think he even keeps saying, he's a tree. And he's crying, laughing so hard. I rewound that scene to watch it again. Because I was like, what did they capture there? Why'd I get that feeling?
This is a moment.
Because it's just a moment.
Of being,
it's just a moment of being. And I think that's what it is. I mean, that's what good writing is being there. Good acting is being there, not watching, not hoping I'm going to get this picked up or am I going to sell it?
Right.
It's are you here right now? So then later on, it doesn't matter what happens. Are you here right now?
Right.
But that movie really was touching. That movie touched me. And then I'll hurry up since you're allowing me 4. I mentioned it earlier, but I think Dances with Wolves is an epic film. I got upset because I read some thread on Twitter. A native person was talking about how they don't really treat the native characters right. And I was like, am I not woke to that? Like, 'cause I thought was very respectful. That was the first movie I've seen where they were not just running around screaming, shooting.
Right.
And there were different characters. There was actual, like, they had, like, it was real, like, we were on their side. Like, it was like a whole, but I think insofar as character journey and like movie epic.
Yes, that is a epic.
That film, I remember being like 3 hours later, because it's one of those 3-hour movies, like Braveheart, which is another one. That's number 5, by the way. I'm just going to get them all in. But it's just big.
Yeah.
It's just big, and it takes you someplace where you, like, that's what movies do.
For sure.
It's a, you know, you
transport.
Yeah. And I was there, you know, and that's another one of those where if it's on, I'm watching.
For sure.
I'm watching. I could probably recite lines. I could probably do that, you know. But I guess that's it. I'll think of a bunch more once we hit stop. I'll be like, damn, I should have said that.
You're
one.
always welcome back on our show, Virgil. That one. Always welcome back on our show.
That's what's up. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your choices. Before we go, I want, since this is the Writers Festival, and we have some writers listening, if you can give any advice to working writers and up and coming writers. Wow. Which I know is a tough
that's a hard
thing
one
to put on your
That's a super, super, super hard one. You know, some of that stuff that we talked about this morning in that panel. Don't be result based. Try not to be result based. If you're going to sit down and decide to write something, ask yourself the question: would I write this if nobody will ever see it? If I'm on an island and I just have to write this, would I still write it? Is it still that important to me? Because if you're worrying about, like I was saying in the panel, you know, I think a lot of young writers are like, I can't wait to get my show. I got this great idea for a show. And one thing that all shows do, every single one of them, is they all end.
They end.
So what are you going to do, A, when it ends? B, what are you going to do if it doesn't happen? Because that's possible too. And you have to be okay with it either does or it doesn't.
Right.
You have to be okay with, I left it all in the field, so to speak. So I would say, just write from your heart. I would say, do not write for a result. Do not write to try and please.
Right.
Do not write to try and show. If you're going to write a piece, especially for like the non-pros, because this is one of the only times, if you do go pro, this is one of the only times you're going to get to do this.
Yeah.
Is write for you. Write because you need to. Write because you're going to be like me, like fucked up if I don't get on the computer. You know, I'm going to be like, this is the one place where depression can't get me, anxiety can't get me. I'm cool here. Or if it does come, I'm actually okay in that state because I'm doing what I am, being who I am.
It's your safe place, yeah.
Yeah. So just, I guess, long answer long, try not to be result-based.
And write for the love.
And write for the love. Write for the love of creation. And I understand, well, how's that going to get me some food? How am I going to be, you know, well, you'll find that way.
Yeah.
That part will come. But especially at the initial stages, like, get good at it. And don't worry about your show or your movie. Worry about your career. Don't ask, where's my show or my movie? Ask, where's my career? And have I developed the tools to sustain itself? Because it's the chain. It's not a link in the chain. It's the chain. And the goal is everybody, when you leave the earth, this is the mission you choose to accept. You want a body of work.
Right.
You don't want your show, you know. And by the way, what if you get your show? What if everything is green lights and blue skies for you and you get your show? Will you know what to do with it?
Right.
Will you have the skill to keep it good? Will you have the knowledge so that people aren't talking around you? Will you be able to do all that? Will you be able to take what you learned from this show and take it to another? Can you do it again? That's like saying, you know, man, I can't wait to play pro baseball. I just want an at bat. Just give me an at bat. Let me get my turn at bat. That's not what those guys are saying.
Right.
Those guys are saying, I'm trying to get to the Hall of Fame. So I need thousands of at bats, which means like thousands of strikeouts. So
life's a marathon.
So don't worry about that result. Just write your ass off. Put your ass in the chair. And routine is a way better friend than inspiration. Get a routine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Virgil, thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
We appreciate you coming on the show.
great.
Appreciate everything you said this morning and on our show today.
Thank you, sir.
It was an honor.
Likewise.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed revisiting that interview as much as I did. And once again, be sure to check out The Piano Lesson. It's streaming right now on Netflix. You won't regret it. It's an incredible, incredible film. I really loved it. One of my favorites of 2024. And that is a wrap on this episode, my friends. That's a wrap on the year for the Gimme Three podcast. Our first year in production here. So hope you guys had fun with us. We had a freaking blast. And stick around. We got a hell of a lot more coming for you guys in 2025. If you dig the show, you can let us know. You could do that by scrolling down to our episode description, clicking the link that says send us a text message. Click on that link, write us a message, and it's going to go directly into our inbox. And if you're not into that, you could also message us on Instagram at Gimme Three Podcast. That's GIMME, spell out 3 podcast. Gimme Three Podcast. And if you love the show and you want to support us, it takes a lot of time and effort and work to do what we do. We love it. We do it all for you. But if you want to support us a little bit, there is a couple ways to do that. Easy way is to just download our episodes when they come every Monday. Download the episodes. Or if you don't want to do that every single Monday, set our podcast to automatic download. It's going to download every time we release an episode. Or if you want to support us even more, you could subscribe to our Patreon. There's a link once again in our episode description. Sign up for our Patreon for a mere $5 a month, less than a Starbucks coffee, and you get monthly bonus episodes. And in 2025, going to give you even more bonus content outside of just bonus episodes as well. So sign up for our Patreon, download our episodes, 2 great ways to support the show. Once again, thank you all for listening to the Gimme Three podcast, and we will see y'all at the movies.